Let's talk about how attackers get in through the network. Because even if your software is patched and your systems are locked down, a weak network setup can leave the front door wide open. First, let's make sure you fully understand what I mean when I use the term network. This is a group of computing devices connected through routers sharing information. Like your home, it has a network. Those are things like your smart TV, laptops, phones, all connected through your router and modem. That is your home network. In this video, we're diving into network-based threat vectors, what they are, how they work, and how to defend against them. So here's the deal. A software vulnerability can't hurt you by itself. Software are installed inside the computer devices, and those devices are inside a network. The attacker can't just attack them directly. They usually have to go through the network. There are two ways to do it. You have remote exploits. This is where the attacker sends code across the network to trigger a vulnerability. No login or physical access required. And then you have local exploits. This is where the attacker already has access to the machine or a valid session and uses that to run exploit code. That's why securing your network matters. It's often the path attackers take to reach those vulnerable systems. So what makes your network unsecure? An unsecured network is one that fails to provide three key things. Confidentiality. Can attackers spy on your traffic and read sensitive information? This is often called eavesdropping. And then you have integrity. Can attackers tamper with or inject traffic into your network? These are on-path attack, also called man-in-the-middle attacks. And then you have availability. Can attackers knock out services? This is where you'll see denial of service attack, DOS. A secure network has control in place to identify users and devices, authenticate them, authorize their action, and keep logs, aka audit. You'll hear this referred to as an access control framework, usually backed by encryption and network monitoring. Now let's break down some real-world ways attackers exploit weak networks. The first is direct access. This is where the attacker physically enters the building and gets access to a system. An example is using an unlocked workstation, or booting your system from a USB or external drive, or stealing a laptop or a hard drive. Just say swiper, no swiping. What's the lesson? Physical security matters too. And then you have wired network intrusion. This is where an attacker plugs into an unused Ethernet port and connects to a rogue device. If the network doesn't authenticate devices, they now have access to internal traffic, and now they can eavesdrop, they can run spoofed services, or they can launch a DOS attack. The third way is remote and wireless exploit. Here, the attack connects from the outside. They can crack a Wi-Fi password that's weak. They can spoof a trusted access point. Spoof, by the way, means, taking on a fake identity. Or they might steal your actual remote access credentials and just log in. The fourth threat vector is cloud account compromise. In case you're not familiar with cloud technology, I recommend you check out some quick videos to get up to speed. Here are some ways an attacker can target your cloud systems. They can target admin and dev accounts in the cloud, or they can attack your API keys. API, by the way, stands for Application Programming Interface. You're going to hear this term used a lot in this course. Think of this as the connection point between two software. The API helps them to communicate. Like if you had a website and want to embed YouTube videos in your website, well, your website will connect to YouTube via the API. A third way to compromise cloud account is through misconfigured cloud storage. With cloud systems, a single cloud account with a weak password can expose your whole organization. You should always use multi-factor authentication. Sometimes attackers don't attack you directly. They go after your cloud provider to find a way in. All right, the next vector is Bluetooth exploits. Yep, even Bluetooth can be an attack vector. Attackers exploit Bluetooth vulnerability or misconfigurations to send malicious files, hijack devices, or jump onto your internal network. Always disable Bluetooth when it's not needed, and patch Bluetooth drivers regularly. And then you have default credentials. This one's simple. If your router or switch still has admin on it, that's an open door. Attackers look up default credentials online. They're often published in the product's manual. Always change your default login during setup. The next vector, open services and ports. In case you're not familiar with the term ports and services, these are mechanisms your computer uses to communicate with other devices. For example, if I connect to a website on the internet, like yahoo.com, my computer connects via port 443. And they do that in order to use the web services. If my computer wants to send an email, it will connect via port 25. In order for those services to be received, the recipient must have the port open. Got it? Good. Because every open port represents a service that's listening for traffic, that's another possible entry point for attackers. Some ports need to be open, but if you have them open for services you're not using, you should close those ports. The fewer things you expose, the smaller your attack surface becomes. If a service is listening and it's not protected, the attacker can't just run exploit code or knock it offline with a DOS attack. That's why we disabled unused ports and lock down the ones we do use. And we can lock them down with firewalls. I gave you a definition of firewalls earlier. We can lock them down with intrusion detection systems. These are devices that literally are looking for suspicious activities or behavior on your network. And we can lock them down with access control list. Think of ACL as the VIP list for the club. If you're not on the list, you can't get in. And no, I don't club. So how do we reduce the network attack surfaces? Here's how you can shrink your exposure. You can patch your network services. You can use firewalls and intrusion detection. You can close unused ports. You can remove default credentials, encrypt traffic, or you can enforce strong access control. And the last one, you can segment your network, especially for cloud and IoT devices. Think of your network as a road. Devices on the same road, aka the same subnet, can communicate with each other. Devices on different subnets cannot communicate with each other unless you make special permission. It's important to make sure that your network roads are built in a way that your valuable devices are not on the same subnet, because your less valuable devices are easier to hack. Like, don't keep your payroll server on the same subnet as the server that hosts your internet accessible web pages. It just wouldn't be a smart thing to do. If attackers can't see it or reach it, they can't exploit it. All right, let's recap. What did we learn? We learned vulnerable software needs a network to reach it. We learned remote attack means no login needed. Local attack requires a session. We learned unsecured network lack confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We learned attackers exploit weak access controls, open ports, and default settings. And we learned your best defense, shrink the attack surface, and secure the traffic. See you in the next one.